Hello, hello, and welcome everyone to the Petropolist podcast. I have two really, I don't know, what are they called? Special guests, independent pet business owners, Nikki Kamek and George DeGuido. They are both strong personalities, have a lot of opinions, and I'm really grateful to have both of them here doing this episode with me today. We're going to have a conversation, one about Petco being a pet health and wellness business and not carrying rawhide anymore. What the hell? And and another conversation we're going to be having is about pet business coaches or coaching and their relationships with direct to consumer brands, and how does that correlate with who we are as their clients in the pet industry? Because I think most of us indies, if we're members of any groups, whether they're on Facebook or not, or whether we're paying or not, we would prefer to not have a direct to consumer brand kind of get in our way as independents. So, hi guys, how are you? George, Nikki, welcome. Let me get unserious now and be myself and not talk like I'm a weirdo and introducing you guys. I feel so odd. This is so friggin' weird. All right, let's start this. Okay, can we start with Petco?
Yeah, sure.
Fake news.
All right, so they are now a public company and they announced that they're a pet health and wellness company.
Where you been? Where you been?
They've been around a long time, though.
Yeah.
Petco's been around a long time.
Where you been lately? I mean, are you trying to become an independent? Are you trying to be? It's hard to understand because for all the years they've been out there, all of a sudden they're seeing things that we saw 20 years ago, and now all of a sudden they're coming to the party. I mean, I just don't get it. Well, I get it. I know why they're doing it, because they can't go after the big boys. So they figure, let me go take some low-hanging fruit and maybe we can make a run at it. But I don't think it's going to work.
But yeah, I say, is it really low-hanging fruit? Because I would say the average indie consumer doesn't want rawhide anyway. So it's not like they would purchase it anyway. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is they didn't get rid of rawhide. All they did was perforate it and call it more easily digestible. But they haven't done any studies or produced any data to show that it's more digestible. So it's essentially fake news. It's a feel-good story to make them appear as if they are trying to do right by the pet, and they're not.
So Petco also a couple of months ago said that they were going to stop selling shock collars, but they're still selling the ultrasonic noise collars and the vibration collars, and those are not, I mean, if you own a pet store and you choose to sell shock collars, usually you give direction with that, or you refer the client to a trainer, right? I mean, what do you do, George?
Guys, you know what they're doing right now? They're worried about the liability of selling one of those because the teenagers behind the counter know absolutely nothing about the product. It doesn't go over well if someone comes back and say, oh, I shocked my... They don't need any bad press right now. They're skating on thin ice right now, and they don't want to take any chances. So what they're basically doing is saying, we know we couldn't knock off the Indies. So if we can't beat them, let's try to join them. So we almost look as if we're like an Indie. They're trying anything to stay afloat. They're in trouble. They're in trouble.
You think they're in trouble? I mean, business is up. Why would you say they're in trouble?
Because long term, they can't do it long term. Remember, everybody's business is up right now due to pandemic and things are going on. Let's wait till it shakes out a couple of years. I don't see them holding on that much longer. They have a lot of money out there. They have a lot of money, and well, now that they can get stock, money from stock, it's free money now. So, but I don't see any growth. I don't see it.
You don't?
Not with the brands that they carry and not without consumer education. It's not going to happen. They're no different. They're no different.
No different than what?
They're no different than what they used to be, or they're no different than any other big box retailer, if you will. They've rebranded themselves, but what has changed about the product on their shelf? Absolutely nothing.
They
Oh,
have freezers now. They have
Oh,
freezers
sorry.
now. They have just food for dogs.
Taz, have you seen some of those freezers? Have you seen what they look like?
Yeah. Well, and have you noticed that most of their product is close to expiring? They don't turn them.
Keep going, guys. I'm digging this conversation.
I'm saying
Well,
you're
what if-
lucky to get their employees to put the product in the freezer, more or less rotated. That's not happening.
Well, look at the shock. I think the shock collar conversation is really interesting, because if a company of that size comes out and says, oh, we're not going to sell this product because it's dangerous to pets, which is a BS line anyway, as you said, it comes down to a liability and, you know, a employee education model. But if that's what they're going to say, the problem is the uneducated consumer is going to walk into Petco or go to petco.com and see that they don't have the collar, and they're going to go somewhere else and buy it. So they're not preventing them from getting into the marketplace. They're not preventing uneducated people from getting their hands on it. People are going to get it anyway. So again, it's another feel-good story when in reality, they're not moving the dial at all.
So where's the reality? Where's the reality where with Petco? What is real? And if I'm a brand new pet owner,
Nothing's real.
what?
Nothing's real.
It's not that black and white.
It's all perception. It's all perception. They want to
Yep.
look like they love animals. They care about animals. They care about the bottom line, period. Period. The bottom line. And logos and slick answers and colorful shelves, which are half empty all the time. But they're not, there's no animal loving going. No. It's dollars and cents. And when I see this guy on LinkedIn with his dogs and all this, I want to laugh. Who is he kidding? I
You're
mean,
talking about Ron Coughlin?
I'm so-
Okay. Okay.
I mean, he puts up a nice face, but bottom line, dollars and cents.
New York City sirens, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. It's my favorite part of my episode. Every episode has sirens.
Where's your cats?
Huh?
Where's your cats?
Shut this shit down. Okay. So they're not really, if I was a new pet owner and I was walking into a Petco, should I be weary? Where am I going to get my information from? What's real? Am I going to be directed in the right place?
Depends.
Do I buy their brand?
It depends which employee you ask and who their training was, what company rep their last training was from. That's the real answer. You can walk in and ask all 6 people on the floor the same question and get 6 different answers.
So true.
I have to tell you, I've done that multiple times, and I have gotten different answers about, specifically about cat food. Most of them don't even know what's in the can.
I like to go down the aisles and watch them hide from me. They hide. They don't want to answer questions.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. Well, wait, I have to take back. That was in a PetSmart.
Same thing.
Same thing.
Same thing. Yeah, and they've closed all their Unleashed stores. They tried to have that small independent look, and that disappeared because why? I wonder. They couldn't do it. They couldn't meet the needs that indies can meet. Do you think
It's
that's
a customer service and knowledge issue? The indies know their products, they know their brands, they know how to problem solve, and they know how to individualize the approach to the consumer. Petco tries to make it a large protocol-driven model, which it doesn't work. It doesn't work in medicine, it doesn't work in nutrition, and it doesn't work in retail, although it doesn't stop people from trying.
and they keep trying. They keep trying. Okay. Rawhide or no rawhide?
They're still selling rawhide.
Okay. But they're saying they're not.
No, they just perforated it.
Okay.
So they're not saying that they're not. Look at the verbiage. I believe it says, let me Google it, but I believe that it says traditional rawhide.
Yeah,
and
you're
so
the
with
one who sent me an article that said rawhide. There's no proof that rawhide's not digestible.
I think
Yeah.
they put in the no hide. I thought they're not no hide from Earth Animal, the other one, the knockoff one.
There's so many of them now.
I know. I think they have one of those. So
Yeah,
made,
they do.
so they
From
made a
Brazil.
sweetheart, they made a sweetheart deal with somebody, right? It's all about
Mhm.
money. And they would
Mhm.
probably figure they'll make more money this way than with rawhide. If they were making money on rawhide, they would stay there. But now,
No. So they're still selling traditional, quote unquote, traditional rawhide, the hide products. They are still selling. What they did was perforate them. So put little holes in them to say that, oh, it's going to break down into smaller pieces so dogs won't chew a whole chunk at a time. And their claim based on that is that it's more digestible. The problem I have with that is there is a peer-reviewed published article. I don't even know how long ago it was, 10 years ago, I want to say now, maybe a little longer, that showed that rawhide in some cases can actually be fairly digestible. Not great, but it's not indigestible. And so the problem I have with Petco saying that is they didn't do any studies to show that perforated rawhide is any better or more digestible than traditional rawhide. So they're still selling it, but they're selling it under the facade that it's safer.
it's a nice sound bite. It's a nice sound bite. We gave up rawhides. They're nice.
Except we didn't.
But they, yeah, of course.
That's why I asked rawhide or no rawhide, because
Nope, they're still selling it.
the data that they put out, the way a new pet owner, new dog owner would look at that is that rawhide is bad and that's why Petco is not selling it. Perception.
Yeah, that's it. Basically.
And
Still going to buy it.
and here's my problem with companies like this. They're confusing they're confusing everybody.
Or Taz, they found somebody that they could buy it cheaper and sell it higher. Remember, they have to answer to the stockholder. They have to answer. They're answering to money.
Well, I have no doubt that they're selling the perforated rawhide at a premium price, right?
Of course.
It's more digestible, so it's worth that extra few bucks.
Oh, bigger margins for the same thing.
Yep.
Just slightly
And then,
modified.
as you mentioned, they're still selling the rawhide alternatives. It's the brand is Nothing to Hide is the big one. It's sold through Phillips and everywhere else now as
That's
well.
ethical, right? Nothing to hide from.
That's ethical.
Sorry, George. I know you know how ethical is. Ethical is.
Well, I was going to say the irony there is they won't give you any information in regard to safety or any data on their product as well. It's made in Brazil, but they have no information about quality testing, anything along those lines.
Well, you know what it also is? They saw the data on how well no hides are selling. And they said, we want to get a piece of this market.
Yep.
And of course, that's salespeople talking, that's manufacturers talking about how good it's doing in our stores. And that's how it all gets pulled. You have to watch what you talk about because they're watching all the time.
So how do we disseminate? How do we manage our conversations within the industry then? I mean, this is going to go live and whoever wants to listen to it can. So when we have people coming into our stores and listening to my sirens, hello. Shit. I feel like I live in the middle. I'm right by NYU Hospital. That could tell you something, okay? I feel like I'm living in hell. But do we have conversations with these brands? Should we be talking to them or should we be asking questions? Should we be giving info or should we just ask questions? That's a really tough place for us to be because we're building relationships. We think they're building relationships with us.
You know, Taz, let me tell you something. And this is after 44 years in business. They don't care. They put up a nice show, manufacturers, but they don't care. They're going for the big numbers, the big ticket. I mean, you land a Petco, nice piece of change. They don't want to do all the work. They don't want, it's easy to do Petco. So the manufacturers, as much as I like them, bottom line, they're going for the easy sale.
I agree. I mean, I still ask questions. I still educate when it's wanted. I don't go on a soapbox to somebody that doesn't want to hear it. But I mean, I think, there are some really good reps for some of these companies that do come around and ask legitimate questions because they want to know and they're trying to educate themselves. But do I think their manager and their higher ups care? No, I don't think they do.
Okay. All right. Is there a rose anywhere in here that smells good?
No.
No, really? No part of this with Petco smells good?
I'm going to say yes.
What?
Anytime you can take a shock collar out of the hands of a person who doesn't know how to use it is a positive.
Well, do you mean the employee or do you mean the consumer? Because I don't think they're getting.
I mean the consumer. If they don't see it there, maybe they'll go on to something else. Maybe they'll stumble into one of our stores and we'll tell them the proper way to train a dog.
Well, I hope so, but I mean, I don't think by a store not carrying a particular product that prevents somebody from buying it. Because if they're coming in, they don't just go walk the aisles of Petco and come across a shock collar and say, oh, let me buy this. They're going in knowing that that's the item they want to purchase. And today's consumer, right, especially when you're getting into higher dollar items, they're walking around with this at the same time, price checking, or if they don't see it, they're going to go on to Amazon or whatever it be and purchase it anyway. I think, like, for me, I would rather have the shock collar and then be able to say, but we actually don't sell these without a qualified trainer. Here's the trainer and be on your way. And if that customer doesn't want to hire the trainer, they don't get the collar. I do the same thing. I mean, we service a ton of police canines, so we do a lot with the choke and the prong collars as well. But they're kept in the back. They don't go out the door unless it's either a canine handler or I don't say any trainer, I say a qualified trainer.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move away from Petco unless you guys have anything else about it that you want to talk about. Clearly not. Silence. I'm not used to silence.
I could go on and on, but no.
Yeah. Your kids say, don't curse in the household. Don't say the word Petco. So, okay. I'm just going to explain something that happened a few nights ago. And I reached out to Nikki because I was bothered by something. And a couple of nights ago, I was watching a video on Facebook, and it was a pet industry coach who was interviewing a direct-to-consumer brand, and they were offering a fee to the members of this group for potential sales of the direct-to-consumer pet food. I'm going to say the name of the food. It was Num Num, and I kind of got really annoyed, and I was wondering why there was a partnership between this pet business coach and a direct-to-consumer brand that is essentially taking money out of the independent's pocket. And forget the money. Just let's forget the money for now, but it's taking business away. And we know how expensive customer acquisition is. And as independents, we work really hard at keeping our customers by taking care of them, by providing them with proper information, guiding them to the right place, giving them choices that they're not going to find at other places. We just talked about Petco and all the fluff that goes along with that. So we actually take a lot of responsibility as independent pet business owners in the choices we make and how we manage our clients and our relationships. And these are long-term relationships that we have. So this really put me on defense. And I asked, why is this happening? And the pet coach's response was that she has other clients other than independents, other clients being pet sitters and dog walkers. But my response to that was that pet sitters and dog walkers should connect with the indies because that's consistent business coming in. We would be guiding them all the time as opposed to a one-time fee that gets paid by that brand, Num Num, to whoever referred them. And of course, there was no response after that. So I wanted to ask you guys what your thoughts were about this.
comments.
I know
And
you.
so-
I know, and also I've spoken to a couple of other independent retailers about this who are part of that group or who saw that post, and everyone seemed very uneasy about it, but no one spoke up. I mean, George, I know you don't do any coaching with pet business coaching or anything, so.
Let me tell you, I'm going to give you the scoop on this whole thing. First of all, I would fire her on the spot if I hired her, which I wouldn't do. But if I hired her on the spot,
But if you had a membership with her group, you would quit it.
I would quit right away. Well, first I would research a little. And once I found this out, that would be the end.
Okay.
But who is she kidding? You're going to take the money away from the retailer that you're taking money for to coach. It makes absolutely no sense. And then when it comes down to the sitters and the trainers, they rely on the stores with their reputations to link with the sitter trainers, their reputation, and you make a marriage there. It's not
And
this.
if she was a good business coach, she would understand that relationship.
Right. I have no interest in this woman. I mean,
Here as an indie, I didn't even know what was happening, and I started getting some texts and some messages from other retailers asking me what my thoughts were. So then of course I have to go on Facebook and figure out what is going on. And I was like, is this an April Fool's joke? And then I'm like, nope, wrong date. Like it was that bad. And for me, I feel as if she forgot where she came from. It's a classic case of her forgetting where she came from and what it's like to be an independent retailer. The fact that she was talking about, again, like kind of like how you said, it's not necessarily about the money. It is, but it's not. She's talking about feeding this product to her own dogs and how great it was. And there are so many similar products that are available to us as indies that are a lot less expensive, have better ingredients, are formulated more responsibly. And those are the products that if we want to push a cooked brand that we should be leaning into or promoting through that channel. Because again, like you said, customer acquisition costs are very high. And if you're in the position with your business, I don't care if it's pet sitting or walking or whatever it is, daycare or retail, that you have to go after that $100 kickback for referring a customer. If that is super lucrative to you or you need that, you've got bigger problems. You've got a lot bigger problems than chasing those $100 referrals. There's a lot of things that concern me, in addition to the fact that I think with the VP of growth, which was another huge red flag, right? It was like VP of growth for Nom Nom, said that he's been working behind the scenes for a year with this coach to get this program up. And then so immediately my other concern is what type of insider information from the way indies operate was she divulging to this VP of growth for a direct to consumer data company? Because I've said this offline and I'll say this again. The direct to consumer brands are not pet food brands. They are data companies. And it sounds funny, but at the end of the day, they track what you look up online, how much time you spend on certain websites, what kind of animal you have, how old they are, where you go. They know everything about you, what you buy, what your behaviors are. And so they marry that with what indies are doing that works to advertise certain products, reach their customers, communicate with their products. That's what that company is learning to do through this particular partnership, if you will. They're looking to steal the ways that we operate so that they can build their business.
Where do the distributors come into play here then?
Well,
because I understand there's partnerships. This coach has partnerships with distributors as well. So when you're dealing, George, when you're dealing with a distributor, are you confident that the information that you share with them and what you're buying is not going anywhere else? Should we have that level of comfort? Where do we fall?
There is no comfort. Of course they're giving out your data. Of course they are. That's how they win over manufacturers to come to their distributorships. But I want to go back to this woman. is she being paid, and we don't know this, is she getting paid from those direct-to-consumer companies to do the bidding for them?
That's the
She's
ultimate
probably
question.
still- I bet you she's getting money. And when they say they were in discussions for over a year, that might have been 3 phone calls. So I don't, all
That's true.
It's very gray. It's very, we had at
It
one
is.
time, I'm not going to say the direct consumer, they came in and they wanted to sell within the store.
Mhm.
Then I sat there and I listened to him. Somebody coached me into it. Okay. He wound up charging less online direct to the consumer than I was selling in the store. And I said, this will never work. What are you trying to do? And within 3 weeks, I told him, come take all your freezers, take everything, get out. Because he played it off one way and then they try to steal the customer the other way.
And
So-
the reason is those brands would never fly in a distributor model or in a retailer model. The cost of that product, once it hits my shelf or your shelf or your shelf, Taz, it would be so astronomically expensive, nobody would buy it. And I would, there's so many sides to this, but, the direct-to-consumer brands, they're not very environmentally friendly or sustainable when you think about what it takes to cost-wise to pack, ship, keep cool, keep cold, keep at a safe temperature, these products direct to consumer. And, even when you look at a lot of the cooked brands, correct me if I'm wrong, because your market might be different, but our market, the cooked brands, they haven't even taken off, at least not widely. They're not wildly successful because they're already so expensive. Once people start feeding those cooked foods, especially if they have a medium or larger dog, they end up switching over to raw because it's less expensive. So I don't ever.
In my market, actually, the cooked brands sell very well, but it's small to medium dogs where it sells. Larger dogs, definitely raw. And larger dogs tend to go for premixes and make their own, like a Dr. Harvey's. They'd rather buy their own meats and blend their own and then add to it some raw. How does it, how about your store? Are you selling any cooked products, George?
you're talking about slightly cooked? Those things?
Yeah, yes, gently
No,
cooked.
we don't even handle them. Either you're going to have your foot in the water or out of it. It's slightly cooked. I didn't really understand it too well. I wasn't really behind it. And now I hear some of the bigger manufacturers are looking to get into it. I don't think there's enough data there. I don't think there's enough volume to justify it being in our refrigerators, freezers, or what have you. You have to,
Yeah.
being in New York, electricity is expensive,
Mhm.
and a lot of people don't figure that into their bottom line. And we'll
Yep.
see what happens. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of it. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But there are a lot of consumers that are fans that feel that this is the way to go because one, our vets have made raw ugly or scary or deadly.
Well, they're good with their marketing. I'll give them that. They're good with the marketing. It looks very appealing, and then also they're cutting out a lot of margin. So it's very profitable for the manufacturer. We have to see where it goes. I think it's niche. I don't think it's no. I think
For cutting out all that margin, they're still charging an exorbitant amount of money
of course,
for a
because
7-pound dog.
And
You and I have talked about this.
It can't be ignored that those direct-to-consumer brands, they are wildly successful. I mean, you look at the growth of some of them over the past year, it's incredible. And I think some of them do a great job. If I don't know if I ever have been in a situation to recommend a cooked or direct-to-consumer brand, but I always do what's right by the consumer, right? If they can't get to us or they need something shipped or for whatever reason, we'll do the right thing. But that's not a brand I would recommend. I think that their marketing is certainly dishonest at best. They say no chemicals. They talk about it being very clean. And if you look at their packaging, they list, I don't know, top 8 or whatever ingredients, real food ingredients on the front, which looks great to the consumer, to the person who doesn't know what they're looking at. But if you go deep into their website, you find an ingredient list that is a lot longer and that has synthetics, which are chemicals. So it's deceptive or dishonest at best. But again, as a pet coach, These are things that she should be helping to educate her customers on. And I think a lot of people forgot that they pay her until the other night. We're paying her to make really, I think, sad recommendations to indies, and I don't care if they're retail or not. That's a really poor recommendation, like George said, because the service-based retailers or service-based businesses depend on relationships with the retailers. If you don't have that, your growth is going to be stunted.
Yeah, it's not my place to tell someone how to run their business, but this is somebody who's telling us, helping us run our businesses. So when you bring something in that is going to be a detriment to how I run my business, I'm going to have to question it.
Well, there should be an online platform where quality retailers can get together, just like you're doing here, and speak the truth to each other. And any newcomer that wants to come along and needs a little help or insight, I'd give that information away for free. I'll give away information to help people grow. I need to have indies grow. It's better for all of us.
Yeah, we all do. Oh, and to your point, and Taz has said this offline as well, we all need to get along, whether you have the same philosophy in terms of retail or not. We all need to work together a little bit closer, as well as educate each other. I think a lot of indies are sometimes afraid to make change or make some, I will say, call them scary decisions, and speak up, if you will. The other night was a perfect example with Taz getting messages and I getting messages, basically asking what I'm going to do, or if I'm going to come out with another article or talk about it. And, I was very just quiet in my responses and be like, oh, let me look into it. I'll see. I have to digest this a little bit. And I knew we were going to come on and talk about this, which is why I ultimately held off. But I would like to see indies speak up. If they don't like something, I don't have to agree with you for you to be able to speak up. And I know Taz will say the same thing. A lot more of us need to be loud.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we do. We need to speak up. And also we need to come to the table for each other's well-being. I have to tell you, I have a store just literally across the highway from me. I recommend them all the time. I don't carry the products that they carry, and they don't carry the products I carry. They're called Le Pet Spa. They're lovely. They're great groomers. I send people there all the time. And if I don't help them, they can't help me. And we need to support each other. I really think having that connection is important. I think I was telling you about my conversation with a couple of retailers in Texas, and they're a couple of miles from each other and they all communicate. They know what each other carries. One doesn't carry brands that the other one does, and they send their customers to each other's locations. They were coming together. I think finally indies are seeing that community is important and that we do need to work with each other to help each other grow. Because then we have another group, this independent pet retail group, that's actually made up of a group of franchises, right? They have Mud Bay, Pet Supplies Plus. George, what's going on there? George, what is going on there? So, and I don't see them as being indies. They're the mid-level group. You have the big box stores, you have them, the franchises, and then you have us. And unfortunately, I feel a lot of the burdens for the communication with the pet owner and the education with the pet owner falls on businesses like ours, and not necessarily the Chuck and Don's and the Mud Bays. What do you guys think about that?
We need to have a coalition for people that have under 10 stores, and you have to have urban ones, suburban ones, because we all face different challenges. So you need to have like a group and then subgroups within it, but on a small regional basis, because everything is regional. It's nobody's willing to stand up and take that stance and say, let's do this already. because everybody's running their businesses. Who's got the free time?
Well, you
I
guys
was in
sitting here
too.
talking to me.
Taj, you should be the leader there. Come on. Bring
Sure.
everybody together.
Okay. It's a good opportunity. You were going to say something, Nikki.
I nominate you as president. Nikki, do you second that motion?
Second, yeah, you're
Okay.
it.
Great.
President.
All right.
But the time management, I think, brings up a really important aspect to some of these pet coach businesses, if you will, because when I was for a short amount of time in that particular group, I was overwhelmed with the amount of information and the amount of, I guess, tasks that the owner and or that owner's team was supposed to be able to complete on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. I felt that, for example, completely running your own social media, doing your own website, doing your own store stuff, putting in subscription boxes, as well as a bunch of other things, was like way too much. I mean, we've got a huge staff. I've got 5 full-timers, 10 part-timers. A lot of those part-timers work almost full-time hours, and myself. I still hire out marketing. I still hire out accounting. There's a lot that I hire out for. And we're all busy. I mean, there's so many things that we would love to take on and so many things that we would love to do with that big staff. And we kind of turn around and nobody has time. So and that's me outsourcing a lot of the big stuff, right? Again, the marketing and the accounting, those are your 2 biggest time sucks. And if I'm doing that and I don't have time, how do these other owners that have, 1 or 2 or 5 employees do it? I don't have, to me, it would have just given me more anxiety. I think in my mind, and this is the advice I give to other retail owners, is even if you think you can't afford it, outsource it, because it's going to save you money. It's going to save you time and it's going to save you money. And you'll be surprised at how much more you're able to do or bring in as a result of outsourcing it. I've made that decision a million times over the last several years, and knock on wood, I maybe have hired the wrong person, but it ended up being the right decision in the end because I found the right person.
Beautiful. Fabulous. So, anything else you guys want to touch on tonight before we?
Yes. Yes. I have a pet peeve.
Oh, I love your pet peeves.
Here's a good one. Now that we're talking about indies and people starting out and all that, my peeve is when the distributors go in, and I feel so bad for these people. They flood them with everything because they have no knowledge. They're selling them foods that never sold and never did this. And they all claim they don't do that, but of course they do it. It just bothers me because sometimes I'll walk into a new store and I'll see maybe a quarter of the product in there. I just know it'll never go. And why do they do this? That's why, going back to this distributors, they're not the friend of the independent and the startups. They're not. They're greedy. They want money.
Well,
that's it.
But it's the short game. To me,
Yeah.
I feel like the nom nom stunt, it's even you want to loop in Petco's rawhide or collar stunt, and distributors selling those types of products in to the unsuspecting retailer. That's the short game. If they were smart, they would be setting these guys up for long-term success and setting it up so that the boat drives itself, and you don't need this constant refinement and constant attention. I mean, you always do to a degree, but it shouldn't be every year a quarter of your product you got to dump because it didn't sell.
Yeah, low-hanging fruit is just that. It's going to rot away.
Yeah.
It will rot. And you have to know what you're doing. You have to understand your relationships and not believe everything that they tell you. I mean, you look at there's so many direct-to-consumer brands right now. I scroll through Instagram for about 2 minutes, which is just about as much as I can handle. And I counted 9 direct-to-consumer brands, and they're all the best, and they will all specialize their food to your pet's need by you filling out 3 lines online. Really, we have conversations. We connect with our customers. We know their pets. We see them. We give direction for the pet's need, not for that next sale. And we get those sales because we're continuously present for them. Not everyone can say that. And if I'm going to hire a pet coach or a coach for my business, they have to be on my side in every possible way, not just half-assed.
Yeah, I agree.
Doesn't work.
Can't automate everything.
Yeah. All right, guys, thank you for doing this. We're going to do this again. If there are any pet business owners that want to join our talks, I think I want to do this like once a month. What do you guys think? You want to pick like terrible subjects and people doing shitty things in the industry, and we talk about them?
Yeah. Who else are we going to vent to?
Oh, well, here we go. We can start with this regional group. We're in the Northeast.
Who's going to mess up next? Chapter 2.
Chapter 2. Wait till next time. Everybody, let us know. We're here. I'm all ears. You know what my email is.
And we
Talk
won't
to you guys soon.
We won't hold back.
All right. I'm going to say goodbye now, and we'll see you guys soon.